Let me ask you something strange. Every single creature on this planet fits here perfectly. The fish has gills because water exists. The polar bear has thick fur because the Arctic is freezing. The camel stores fat because deserts are dry. Every animal you can name was built specifically for the world it lives in. And then there is us. We burn under our own sun. Our backs collapse under our own weight. We arrive into the world so helpless we cannot even lift our own heads. And we are the only species that ever looked around at the planet it was born on and quietly felt like something was wrong. So today we are going to ask the question that scientists, biologists, and Nobel Prize winners have all wrestled with and never fully answered. What if we do not actually belong here? Start with something you have probably never thought about. Sunlight. Every animal on this planet spends its entire life under the same star we do. Lizards lie on hot rocks in direct sunlight for hours. Elephants roam open plains all day. Dogs, horses, lions, zebras, none of them need to do anything special to survive their own sun. But us? We had to invent a cream and rub it on our skin just to go outside. Think about how bizarre that is. Every other creature is perfectly calibrated for the star at the center of our solar system. And the so-called most intelligent species on Earth has to smear SPF 50 on itself before stepping into the garden. That is not a small thing. That is a species that does not match its own environment. Now look at your spine. 8 out of every 10 humans will experience serious back pain at some point in their lives. Not minor discomfort. Chronic, debilitating, life-altering pain. Doctors treat it. Surgeons operate on it. Entire industries exist just to manage it. When 4 out of 5 members of a species share the exact same structural problem, that is not bad luck. That is a design flaw. Here is why it happens. Our spines were originally built for walking on all fours, horizontal, like a bridge. Then around 6 million years ago, we stood up. And instead of evolution giving us a completely new spine built for standing, it just tried to modify the old one. Picture taking a bridge and trying to stand it upright without rebuilding it from scratch. That is what happened to your back. Animals like kangaroos and ostriches are also bipedal, they walk upright. But their spines were designed from the beginning to handle that position. Ours were retrofitted. And the result is a species that spends billions of dollars every single year on back pain treatment. Then there is childbirth. And this one is genuinely hard to explain away. Human childbirth is the most dangerous delivery process of any mammal on this entire planet. Not in history. Right now. Today. A horse gives birth in roughly 30 minutes. The foal stands up within the hour. A chimpanzee birth is difficult but manageable. A dolphin calf swims almost immediately after being born. But a human baby arrives after hours of dangerous labor, cannot hold its own head up, cannot feed itself, cannot walk, cannot regulate its own body temperature, and will remain completely dependent on other humans for years. Before hospitals existed, childbirth was one of the most common ways women died throughout all of human history. Not from disease. Not from war. From having a baby. No other mammal routinely kills its own mothers during healthy childbirth. Just us. Scientists call it the obstetric dilemma. Our brains grew faster than our birth canals could keep up with. Evolution was trying to make us smarter while keeping us upright at the same time, and the pelvis got completely caught in the middle. The result is a process that is messier, more dangerous, and more painful than anything else in the animal kingdom, and here is something that sounds almost too strange to be true. About 30% of all humans alive today have allergies. That means nearly 1 in 3 people has an immune system that attacks things that cannot hurt it. Pollen, peanuts, dust, pet hair, shellfish. Your immune system has one job. One single job. To protect you. And in 1/3 of the human population it is failing so completely that it wages war against harmless particles floating through the air. This does not happen in the wild. Animals do not have mass pollen allergies. You do not see lions sneezing through spring or wolves avoiding peanuts. The immune system in every other species does its job without this level of dysfunction. Either something went wrong with human biology at a fundamental level, or our bodies are calibrated for a completely different environment than the one we are living in. But all of that, the sunburn, the back pain, the childbirth, the allergies, all of that pales next to the strangest thing about us. We know we are going to die. Not in a vague abstract way. We know it fully. We think about it. We fear it. We lie awake at night confronting it. And we have spent the entire span of human civilization desperately trying to make sense of it. Dogs do not contemplate death. Dolphins do not have existential crises. Elephants grieve, but they do not build entire systems of belief to cope with the terror of non-existence. But we do. Every culture in human history. Every civilization that has ever existed. Every single one of them independently developed religion, philosophy, ritual, and stories, all organized around one central question: what happens to us when we die? Think about what that means from an evolutionary perspective. Fear of death is useful. It keeps you alive. But existential dread, the kind that drives you to madness, to depression, to war, that is not useful. That is a burden. And evolution does not give species burdens without a reason. So why do we carry it? In 1973, a scientist named Francis Crick published a paper that made a lot of people uncomfortable. Crick was not a conspiracy theorist. He was not a fantasist. He was one of the most important scientists who ever lived. He won the Nobel Prize in 1962 for co-discovering the structure of DNA, the molecule that carries the instructions for all life on Earth. And in that 1973 paper, written alongside chemist Leslie Orgel, Crick proposed something extraordinary. He suggested that life on Earth did not begin here. That it was deliberately sent here by an intelligent civilization from somewhere else in the galaxy. The man who decoded the blueprint of life looked at the evidence and said the story does not add up. And when you look at the timeline, it is hard to dismiss. Earth formed roughly 4.5 billion years ago. For the first several hundred million years it was a molten, toxic, asteroid-battered nightmare. Oceans of lava. Atmosphere full of poison. No solid ground. Nothing that could support life. And then, approximately 3.8 billion years ago, almost the exact moment conditions became even slightly survivable, life appeared. Not simple life. Complex, sophisticated, chemically intricate life. Appearing in what scientists themselves describe as a geological instant. The planet had barely cooled and somehow organic chemistry was already up and running. Biologists have always found that timing suspicious. Then in 1969 a meteorite crashed into southeastern Australia near a town called Murchison. When scientists analyzed it, they found something that changed everything. Inside that rock from space were more than 90 different amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of all living things. And some of those amino acids were the exact same ones found in every living creature on Earth. The chemistry of life was not just on Earth. It was riding through space on a rock. And we know life can survive that journey. There is a microscopic animal called a tardigrade. It looks like a tiny eight-legged bear. And it is essentially indestructible. Scientists have exposed tardigrades to the total vacuum of space, to temperatures near absolute zero, to doses of cosmic radiation that would kill every other living thing on Earth. And tardigrades survived. In 2019, an Israeli spacecraft crashed on the surface of the Moon. It was carrying tardigrades. Scientists believe some of them may still be sitting on the lunar surface right now. Alive. Waiting. Life does not just exist on Earth. It can travel between worlds. In 2013, a researcher named Dr. Ellis Silver published a book pulling together all the physiological evidence: the sunburn, the spine, the childbirth, the allergies, even the fact that the human body's internal clock runs on a cycle that is slightly longer than 24 hours, as if it evolved on a planet with a longer day, and he argued these were not evolutionary quirks. They were signs of a species that came from somewhere else. Now, here is where honest science has to do what honest science does. Because mainstream biology actually has explanations for most of this. They are called evolutionary mismatches. The idea that our bodies evolved for a specific ancient environment, the African savanna, small groups, short lifespans, constant movement, and the modern world is simply too different, too fast for our biology to catch up. The back pain makes sense because we only stood upright 6 million years ago and evolution is slow. The sunburn makes sense because our ancestors lost their body hair to stay cool while running across open plains for hours, and the UV sensitivity is just the price we pay. The childbirth crisis makes sense because our brains expanded faster than our hips could adjust. Even the environmental destruction makes sense in this framework. We evolved in small groups where resources felt endless. Our brains are wired for immediate survival, not planetary management. We are not alien invaders. We are just a species that became extraordinarily powerful before our instincts could catch up. Those explanations are real. They are backed by evidence. And they handle most of the mystery. But not all of it. Because there is one thing that evolutionary biology still cannot fully explain. And it is the thing that makes even the most skeptical scientists pause. The speed. In 4 billion years of life on this planet, nothing has ever developed the way we did. Dolphins have existed for roughly 50 million years. They are intelligent. They communicate. They have complex social lives. In 50 million years, they have never built a single tool. Not one. Chimpanzees have been using basic sticks as tools for around 4 million years. In 4 million years, they have made no meaningful upgrades to that technology. The stick is still the stick. And then there is us. 2 million years ago, we were making sharpened rocks. That is all. Sharpened rocks. Then something happened. And we accelerated in a way that has no parallel in the entire history of life on Earth. We went from sharpened rocks to nuclear weapons. From fire to the International Space Station. From cave paintings to artificial intelligence. From the first stone tools to landing robots on Mars. From the wheel to the internet. 200 years ago, there were no trains. 125 years ago, there were no aeroplanes. 75 years ago, no human had ever left the atmosphere. 30 years ago, the internet did not exist in any meaningful form. No species in 4 billion years of evolution has ever accelerated like that. Nothing even comes close. And the honest answer from science, the real answer, is that we do not fully understand why. Some researchers point to language. Some point to cooking, which gave us more calories and allowed our brains to grow larger. To dominating the entire planet in what amounts to a blink. Crick could not explain it. Silver could not explain it. And modern science can explain pieces of it, but not the whole picture. Not yet. So here is where we land. It is probably not true that we are literal aliens dropped onto this planet from somewhere else. The evolutionary evidence is strong. Mismatch theory handles most of the physical strangeness. We are almost certainly a product of this Earth shaped by the same forces that shaped everything else here. But almost certainly is not the same as definitely. And when one of the scientists who decoded DNA and Nobel Prize winner looks at the evidence and says something here does not fully add up, that is worth sitting with. Because that uncertainty is not a weakness. That is science being honest. The same curiosity that made us look up at the stars. The same restlessness that made us build rockets and telescopes and send machines to other planets just to see what is there. That did not come from nowhere. Maybe that restlessness is not a flaw in us. Maybe it is a clue. Because whether we are a product of this Earth or something stranger, we are undeniably the most unusual thing this planet has ever produced. A species that burns under its own sun. That breaks under its own gravity. That knows it is going to die and cannot stop thinking about it. A species that has spent its entire existence looking up at the sky and feeling without being able to explain why, that the answer to something very important might be up there. If we are from here, we are the strangest accident in 4 billion years of life. And if we are not, we have been trying to find our way home for 200,000 years. And we do not even know it.